Yeah, so this'll rock. We are Facebook Live right now. Hey, everybody in Facebook Live world, I am here with Leanne Spencer. You're going to love talking about her talk because it's not about the weight so much. It is about the fitness. So that means people like me need to be very afraid because we are not in shape. We might look like we're reasonably trim or used to look that way, but not in shape. I'm just going to say so right now. So tell us where you are, comment, feel free. We are still prepping with Leanne, so I am going to read her bio, and then we're going to jump in here. And any comments that we get, feel free to have them come in here. I might even be able to display them, but I will not verbally acknowledge them because we are about to record a podcast here. So Leanne Spencer is, and this is a practice bio read, an author, founder, and speaker. She's the founder of Body Shot Performance, an award-winning health and well-being consultancy that creates total solutions to optimize your health, fitness, and well-being. Leanne's expertise is around health, fitness, and well-being, specifically focusing on sleep, mental health, energy, body composition, digestion, and fitness, the 6 signals. Leanne works with private individuals and forward-thinking corporates who see well-being as a competitive advantage. All right. All right. Very good. Any questions to me, Leanne, before we jump on live?
No, I don't think so. I've listened to a few of them.
All right.
I know the format. Yeah, let's go.
You know the format. All right, we're going to go for it. All right, we're ready to rock in 3, 2. We are live with Leanne Spencer. Leanne, are you ready to talk?
I am, Nathan, I am.
Leanne Spencer is an author, founder, and speaker. She's the founder of Body Shot Performance, an award-winning health and well-being consultancy that creates total solutions to optimize your health, fitness, and well-being. Leanne's expertise is around specifically focusing upon sleep, mental health, energy, body composition, digestion, and fitness, which she calls the 6 signals. Leanne works with private individuals and forward-thinking corporates who see well-being as a competitive advantage. Leanne Spencer, welcome to the talk.
Thank you very much.
So your recent talk is called Why Fitness is More Important Than Weight. Talk Universe, you're going to love to hear about this because body mass index and a whole bunch of other tools that a lot of people have felt kind of clobbered, beat over the head. They can't hit the numbers that they feel they should or they're told they should be able to hit. All of that stuff is not nearly as important as just being fit. Leanne, please take us behind the talk.
Of course, yeah. So the main, as you say, the main theory behind my idea is fitness is more important than weight. Now, I got actually the origins of this was from something that Judy Murray said. So she's the mother of Andy Murray and Jamie Murray, the famous tennis siblings. And she had the same point. She said, if we can focus on our kids' fitness, we'll have less of a weight issue. And it just sparked me thinking, if we were to focus more on fitness and less on weight, I think A, we'd be happier, we'd probably be healthier, certainly we'd have less of a skewed perspective on our own bodies, particularly women, but it isn't just about women, as I say in my talk, it's about men as well. We've got to focus on functional fitness, what we can do and achieve with our bodies, rather than how they look. That's an important part, I get it. People are concerned with how they look, and I wouldn't want to go out looking, I like to look a certain way, but it's not the most important thing.
Not the most important thing. So Talk Universe, like many talks, and TED and other great branded events are great ways to talk about this. This is really a great systems talk. It's not really pitched as one. You might not have thought of it as one, but we're talking about systems thinking, inputs and outputs. And what's more important is really the output, the desired thing that we want, which is fitness. Because if we have a high enough level of fitness, the inputs, the body mass index, whatever the metrics that we use aren't going to be that big of a deal because we have good health and we're working the body that the universe gave us. Leanne, is that a fair way to look at it, maybe from a different angle?
Yeah, it is, yeah. And really what I want people to focus on is functional fitness. So can you run for that bus if you need to run for that bus? Can you lift that bag off the carousel on a travel trip? Can you hike the Pacific Coast Trail? Have you got that ability? Because if you've got that fitness, it opens up your world for you. And when I talk about fitness as well, I mean it in a holistic way. So it's all the way from physically fit enough to complete an event or hike that trail or lift that object, but also mentally fit. So you've got quite a good level of personal sustainability, brackets resilience. Whether you're fit for the rigors of business, for the rigors of daily life, for the rigors of having a young family, whatever it might be. So it's fitness in a very broad sense. But certainly from the physical aspect, if you can achieve those things, suddenly your world opens right up. If you've got the ability to hike a trail, you suddenly get to appreciate what being in nature's like, what being alone might be like, being comfortable on your own, surrounded by nothing but beauty. So your world opens up. I think if you like that physical fitness, but you're very obsessed with how you look, your world shrinks and contracts.
Oh, for sure. And so this is even better than systems thinking. This is even better than outputs. This is just everyday practical practicability here for adults. I mean, I'm throwing in a lot of adult learning lingo just because I used to teach that stuff at university. And
right.
we always were talking, what's the difference between pedagogy, teaching children, and andragogy, teaching adults? It's that really for both of them now, but especially with adults traditionally, it's been you've got to talk about practical things that they can get a desired result. It needs to make practical sense for them. So being able to hike, being able to bike, being able to reach down and bend over and pick something up, to be able to match the energy level of some of the younger members of your family, perhaps makes so much sense.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. And if we focus on those things, we're going to be happier. We're going to be healthier. If we're happier and healthier, we are more likely to make good, informed decisions about food, more likely to make the better choice about walking rather than catching a bus. We're far more likely to explore new opportunities. So the weight piece kind of follows. And that's always been my approach to myself, to anyone that I'm working with. It will follow, because an unhappy person will make poorer choices. A happier person is going to make better choices.
I've noticed that, and certainly when I'm happy, when I feel like things are forward moving for me, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to go for the salad. If I'm not, might go for the comfort food. Not so great. Leanne, my question to you, and you, I'm sure you mentioned this in the talk, but take us behind the talk a little bit. How was this a fairly recent thing for you, that you stopped kind of drinking the Kool-Aid of body mass index and all these other metrics and really rethought the whole thing and kind of flipped the model on its head? Or was it a gradual thing, or are you part of a movement? What was it like for you that maybe the light came on in varying measures and you discovered this?
Yeah, I mean, I had my own health journey, which is a long story, but I had my own health journey, which is often the case with people who now, in my kind of line of work. But having worked with quite a number of people who came to me with a weight goal, and then you unpick it a bit, and sometimes that's quick and sometimes that's a slow process, and you realise is what sits behind there is a much bigger, much scarier goal. But people put weight out in front because, of course you want to lose 3 stone. Great, how are we going to do that? Actually, I've got crippling self-esteem. Or my world has contracted so that I barely leave home and I'm riddled with loneliness. That's some of the stuff. So that got me thinking. If we were to focus more on fitness, on functional fitness, on what you can do, what you can achieve with your body, fall in love with it again for the pleasure it can bring you, forget less about how it looks, that'll sort itself out. And that was really the idea behind the talk. And it's something, I hope you can tell from the talk and from this, that I'm very passionate about. Particularly women. The average British woman spends 17 years of her life on a diet. That's how my talk opens up. That's horrendous. Oh. It's horrendous. But it's not just, as I say, it's not just about women. I want to get people happier and healthier in their bodies, irrespective of their size.
Leanne, I mean, you're really talking about self-image, self-identity. If the average British woman, American woman, or developed nation woman's probably very, very similar. If you're spending 15 years of your life in a certain mindset, pursuing a certain goal in a certain way, and if it's very much not outcome, it's outcomes based, but it's outcome in the wrong thing, a premature thing, a weight, or 2 stone, as you say, but not being happy or having a better quality of life or just being fit and being healthy all the way around. I mean, what does that do to us if we spend, let's say, an average 75-year lifespan? That's 1/5 of your life on a diet, not even thinking about a diet or shooting yourself for not doing a diet, on a diet. That's 20% of your life, and probably another 20 or 40% thinking about you need to be committed to a diet. What does that do to us when we're spending so much of our existential time pursuing something that isn't even really going to give us the end result?
Yeah, absolutely nuts. I mean, to spend that long, firstly, that tells you that it isn't working. The second thing is, what does that do to you? It's got to be soul destroying. 17 years of failing continually, because you must be, because otherwise in 17 years you would have got it nailed down. It's self-flagellation, really. While at the same time, giving money over to these multi-million pound, billion-pound corporations that thrive on failure. I've seen it. It beats people down. They come to me and they are desperate, having tried everything, and getting very little joy out of life as well. And because they're unhappy, that in some way that tends to permeate out, and they're lonely very often as well. I just think it's a very sad state for us to be in. Life is short, life is precious, and I mean it in such a positive way. Let's not spend it on a diet. If there's some weight issues that are causing you metabolic conditions, sure, that weight needs to come down. But let's get it down, not from dieting per se, but from looking at, what you're eating, but let's get you moving. What do you enjoy doing? If you like gardening, great, let's get out there squatting, lunging, and moving around in the garden. Maybe a child inspires you to get more active, whatever it might be. We all used to have hopes and dreams of being a sailor or an astronaut or something or other when we were young. So kind of tapping back into what you enjoyed when you were a kid, kicking a ball about. Doesn't matter how old you are, how big you are, let's get kicking that ball about.
Talk Universe, I want you to listen to Leanne and do what she says and find out more about her, because you're going to be happier and healthier as a result. We've been enjoying this conversation with Leanne Spencer live from the UK, 5 hours in the future, where it is still broad daylight outside that I can see on my video. It's so much fun. And we're going to be back in just a moment with Leanne for the Blitz Round. And we're back with Leanne Spencer. It is time for the Blitz Round. I'm about to ask Leanne a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent branded talk. Leanne, are you ready?
I'm ready.
First off, are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
Right, I'm a blender, but my talk was memorized. I wouldn't do it that way again.
Tell us more.
It's a very stressful way of doing it. You've got to learn the whole thing. For, let's say I had a 10-week lead up. For 8 weeks, I won't swear, you're like, I can't get it. I'm not going to get this. I'm just going to have to do something else to pull out. And then on week 9, you wake up and you're like, okay, I know it. But it's stressful. I wouldn't do it that way again, because you've got, I just wouldn't. And I can see back that it was memorized as well. I don't know if anyone else can.
I have heard that sentiment many times when I've interviewed people. I think you answered the next question. Did you have, on the actual day when you walked out, Leanne, did you have nerves, or were you in the zone, or neither, or both?
Actually, I was pretty in the zone. The nerves come a couple of weeks before, and they're quite mild. They get me ready. On the day, on showtime, I'm pretty relaxed. Of course, my adrenaline would have been high, my heart rate would have been elevated if you were to measure these things. But yeah, I was pretty in the zone. I was looking forward to it.
What's a tip, a technique, or a tool that helped you?
Not to memorize it. Have some cues for the key points that you want, and then talk freely. And to go with that, not to give Ted too much power, for example. Go with your approach and trust in yourself that you'll deliver on the day.
What was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that might have happened during or right before your talk, Leanne?
Well, I don't know if this answers your question exactly, but it very nearly didn't happen. When the organisers said to me, we're not happy with the quality of the talk, and we're going to look at it over the weekend, come back to you Monday, but currently it doesn't meet our rigorous standards. So I hadn't included enough stats and studies to back up my comments. So I made up my mind. I thought, well, okay, if they're gonna significantly change the talk on Monday, I ain't doing it. It's my talk. Actually, they enhanced it by putting some stats and some figures in. Because of course, it's the TED platform. You can't go and say the average British woman spends 17 years in life with a diet. According to who? So they enhanced the talk, but that was a weird thing because I wasn't expecting that. It's very rigorous, the process.
Yeah, for sure. And and you had spent all that time memorizing what you did as well. So that that didn't help the situation either. I mean, that's part of why we have the Blitz round and why we talk about this, because, Talk Universe, you're giving your talk just because your initial idea application gets selected doesn't mean that it's not a free pass. So no. Leanne found here, and to Leanne's credit, she did the hard work to pull through. But this is, I've seen it firsthand. Maybe not necessarily to me, but I know that is always a right reserved by the organizing team. They can yank it at any point in time. They don't like to, but it is something that can happen. So they made it more robust. You work with them. You're flexible enough in that whole thing, and it all came through, and you had it memorized, and happily ever after.
And I will say that they were quite right. You can't get on a stage like TED or any stage and not quote and not back up your figures with studies. You have to be rigorous. So it was a good learning experience, and I've carried that on as well.
We've been enjoying this Blitz round with Leanne Spencer, and before we go any further, we want to let you know where you can check out this talk, Why Fitness is More Important Than Weight. You can go to our show notes page, bethetalk.com, and we will have a clickable link right there. You can watch that, or you can type it into YouTube, your choice. We can also connect you, and we want you to connect with Leanne and her message. You can do that also at the Be The Talk show notes page at, we'll have a link there too, bodyshotperformance.com. Bodyshot with a T, performance.com. And we're going to be right back with Leanne Spencer in just a moment for the final word of advice. And we're back with Leanne Spencer. It is time for the final word of advice for Talk Universe.
I would come up with a really novel and interesting idea. The key thing with TED is it's ideas worth spreading. It isn't stories worth sharing. It's not speakers worth watching. It's ideas worth spreading. Think of a really interesting idea. And the last thing I would say is if you're doing a TEDx, let's say that's at a certain area, think about the demographic of that area and try and match your idea, if you can, to that demographic. Is it something that's going to appeal to that local area? Because that will massively increase your chances of getting selected. So a novel idea married to the demographic of the area you'll be speaking in.
Leanne Spencer, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to share your wisdom today with Talk Universe.
Absolute pleasure, Nathan. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that's a wrap, but we still are Facebook Live, so if you have a question or comment for Leanne, and maybe we're not live anymore because we won't be in just a couple of moments, feel free to comment that in. It looks like we got some thumbs up, which is always good to see. We're going to say goodbye to everybody and take this offline, and feel free to spread Leanne's message. If this was liberating for you, if you've never heard something really credible, maybe people say things like this, but not in a credible way, not having a TED Talk that you can actually share, and hearing the backstory, and you want to help Leanne spread her message, should already mention this at the beginning. Hit that finger down on the share button. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.